Hey, what's up? How do you get a head start and then find yourself behind those people who you had a head start against? Well, leave it to the Jaguars, and I'll tell you how they did that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, good people? I'm Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars. Thanking you for making us your first listen every single day for Jaguars news, and we appreciate you here on Locked On Jaguars. You know, I've been covering this team here for 10, 11 years, maybe, something like that. Been doing the podcast now for a little bit over 2 years, and it seems like sometimes we have a theme here, and it's a consistent theme, and one that we're all around here experts at because we're used to doing things a certain way. And what I mean by that is we're used to the same results, and we're used to trying to figure out how we're going to get beyond this point. So when these things begin to sound really, really familiar, one good thing is you have a chance to sound like an expert because you're used to doing the same type of shows all the time. But the other things is it can really, really get redundant, right? And the part of the redundancy that you have to watch out for is getting complacent and making sure you don't say the same things over and over again. Well, with the Jaguars, you can't help it. And I'll tell you why. It's because they continue to do things a certain way. And one of the common denominator is Shad Khan. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to explain it to you. This whole process, of finding a new coach, finding a new GM, and having a chance to really, really, really start everything over here again, it's not really working out the way that we all thought that it would as of this point. And I'll tell you why. They had a head start. Unfortunately, the situation with Urban Meyer was that terrible. It was ugly. And they fired their coach, and they knew that they were going to go in a consistent direction. Now, last year, Urban Meyer and Trent Baalke both reported to Shad Khan, but because this was a quote-unquote coach-centric situation that Shad Khan wanted to do with Urban Meyer last year, it pretty much was everything, and in Shad's words, it was going to angle towards doing things, everything that Urban really wanted done here. Well, when you stop that and you commit to moving in a different direction, I think you need to be clear on whether or not you're still going to do that or you're actually going to go back to the other way of doing things and allow your GM to run the team. It appears that Trent Baalke may stick around as the Jags GM, and even if he doesn't stick around as the Jags GM, it is wrong for him to still be over there right now doing stuff. If he's not going to move forward, and this is the beauty of this. Some people are telling me, well, Baalke's gone, just watch. That's fine. But if he's going to be gone, why is he involved in the coaching search? If he's going to be gone, you had a head start on naming your GM. Unlike players and coaches, you don't have to wait till the offseason to get a GM. If there's an assistant GM out there right now that you wanted, you could have gone and had that guy and had him already committed to coming over here and assembling a staff to get ready for the Senior Bowl and find out who his scouts are going to be and helping you find the head coach. But they want to do it a different way. And I saw today someone said that it's the Buffalo Bills approach where they'll hire the coach and then the coach and the GM will go, and the coach and the owner kind of look for the GM that fits the coach. They need to be crystal clear as to what they want to do. Here's the reason why. You say, what's the rush? Okay. With folks saying that the Jaguars had an advantage by being, the disadvantage was they were bad. So they created an advantage by getting rid of Urban Meyer when they did, because they could start their search and they could start notifying people at some point that they wanted to interview him. And so to think that you could call that an advantage on one hand And then on the other hand, say, it doesn't really matter because now other teams have went through Black Monday and 4 or 5 other vacancies are open. And all of those teams are now interviewing coaches and all of those teams are now interviewing GMs. You are hustling backwards if you think that they had an advantage because they could start before anyone else. But now that advantage doesn't matter because they've chosen to basically let everyone else catch up or even move beyond them. And the reason why I say they're moving beyond them because there's other teams that are interviewing coaching candidates and GM candidates. So either way you look at it, either way you want to twist it, the Jaguars are basically screwing themselves. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if they aren't going to keep Balky, they need to be interviewing GM candidates right now. Or they're going to be left with what's left. If they are going to keep Balky, they're dead in the water right there. That shouldn't happen. This is why this organization is the way it is right now. This is why. Now you've given some candidates, especially those that were out of football last year. You could have interviewed Jim Caldwell, Doug Peterson, and had that already ready to go. And now that you've interviewed Leftwich, you could have named your coach. You could be the first team to name your coach, but I get this strange feeling that they won't be the first team to name their coach. They could have interviewed Bill O'Brien 2 weeks ago. He was coaching in college. There's nothing to say you can't interview him for the job and let him finish whatever he was doing or whoever it's going to be. It is going to be laughable to me that if they start offering coaches this job, and this probably won't come out, that if they start offering coaches these jobs and that coach has other options, no, I'm going here. I'm going somewhere else. And trust me, Trevor Lawrence, cap space, all that is well and good. But if you, as you've seen, there are coaches around the league, there are people who have put out information that says, I'm not going there. Like an agent told somebody on CBS, he'd have to fire me before I let him take an interview. They're talking about one of his prospective clients who's a coach. How can you have an advantage and lose the advantage by either holding on to Trent Baalke or just by moving at a snail's pace? I think it's because Shad is afraid to fail. I have been wrapping my head around this notion. Someone put in the paper, one of the columnists here, I can't even remember who it was. It may have been Gene Fournette. I don't know if it was. I don't know if he put in the paper on Twitter. They said, the Florida Times Union or Jacksonville.com. They said he doesn't like the word. It was a phrase that everyone uses for starting over, like wiping the slate. That he doesn't like it. Why? Why? If your slate is all rusted out and broken and molded, why wouldn't you like that? We'll get into it more here in segment 2. Segment 3, what I'm going to do today is, after segment 2, we're going to talk about some of the coaches individually. Segment 3, I'm going to look at some of these draft prospects really, really fast. Really, really fast. Just a handful of guys that I think with different scenarios, I hope the Jaguars end up with without going into too much depth. I'm going to say some words wrong today too because I'm not 100% and my throat is hurting. My head is hurting, but that's all right. We're going to get through it because that's what we do here on Locked On Jaguars, man. We give you that daily content because it's your team every day. We're going to get to more of it here in just a second on a Wednesday of Locked On Jaguars. I want to tell you guys first about Built Bar, man. What have I been telling you about Built Bar forever? That it's the greatest protein bar, greatest tasting protein bar. The macros are just off the chain. It is what you need when you want to lose weight and eat something that's very, very delicious. Built Bar is the truth, man. It comes with so many different flavors. They're all covered in 100% chocolate. And most Built Bars macros, here's what they contain. About 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and about 17 grams of protein. You compare that to any candy bar, which usually has almost double the calories, about 5 times as many grams of sugar, and dozens of carbs. Here's an idea for the new year. Go to all your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry, and in the office, and in the car, and wherever, and throw all the sugary and calorie and fat-filled treats and replace them with Built Bars. Throw those things away, man. Get rid of it. Because all you got to do is go to Built.com. You go to Built.com and enter the promo code LOCKED15. you're going to get 15% off of your order. Now, they are covered in 100% chocolate. Find your personal favorite. Hit up at built at bar_built on Twitter, it is, and also for any new information. But make sure that what you do is find your favorite Built Bar. My personal, and I keep telling y'all this, and y'all know this, is the salted caramel. Find out what your favorite is too, and order it at built.com with a promo code of LOCK15. All right, man, we're rolling along here on a Wednesday. I'm going to hit some of the candidates. I've told you in the previous podcast, my favorite candidate for this job is Jim Caldwell, because he checks a lot of boxes. One of the boxes that he checks is every single player that I've ever heard speak of him, they glow about him and his impact on them as players and them as people. And every situation he's ever been in, he's improved it with good, sound football stuff. And I just think that, him being a guy who went to the Ravens as a quarterback's coach and an interim offensive coordinator, and they go win the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco has never looked so good before. I just think a guy who actually had Detroit on the precipice of being a team that was going to make some noise, and then they got rid of him, which is still a boneheaded bone. It's a head scratcher to me. They brought in Matt Patricia, and then they went back to losing again, and now they're, along with the Jaguars, one of the worst teams in the league again, after Jim Caldwell actually took them to the playoffs. I just think a guy like that fits. And I know a lot of people talk about his age, that he's 66, might be 67 by the time the season starts or at some point during the season next year. I don't think that's old anymore compared to how we used to think about that. I'm 52, and I'm just as cool as the other side of the pillow, right? So 66 is now what 46 used to be. And then he's the type of person, I think you give him 4 or 5 years, he'll get this thing, on the right track. You'd be shocked at the coaches that are like 66 years old. Like Saban is like something like that, right? And there are other guys, well, how old is Belichick? Belichick's, he's up there a little bit. So you'd be surprised. Pete Carroll ain't no spring chicken. So you'd be real surprised at the guys and how old these guys are in the league. But I think what he could do is he could put a proper staff in here, and he could get some continuity in here. And then if he does happen to walk away, you don't have to blow it up. Plus, he's the kind of dude that you could elevate upstairs, and they could keep it going and allow him to get with the new GM or whoever the GM is at that point and say, hey, no, we need to promote this guy or get this guy to come in. And I think that's the type of situation. I would want this to be Jim Caldwell's last stop in the National Football League. And I want him to make a permanent part of what we are here in Jacksonville. I like Doug Peterson. I saw Nick Foles up front and close, and anybody that could get Nick Foles to throw for 400 yards against the Bill Belichick defense in the Super Bowl, I like him. I like the way he goes about his business. I don't need a coach to be all chummy and nice all the time in order for him to be the right guy for the job. Like, I really don't care about that. Gus was really, really nice, but they lost a lot. Gus Bradley, Doug was real nice, but Doug wasn't like somebody you want to go up and give a hug, but Doug is somebody like you see something funny at practice and you laugh, he laughed too. I recall this kid who played here, who I knew him ever since he was a baby. I used to cut his hair, and he was in camp with the Jaguars, and Rashad Hill saw me and sort of ran up to me and gave me a hug right in the middle of practice, like, hey, man. And he wasn't supposed to do it. I told him, man, go, go, go. And Doug saw him, and when Doug blew the whistle, he ran, and Doug said something to him. And then he turned and looked at me, and I said, Norton said, he's a little boy, man. And Doug laughed. So, Doug wasn't necessarily a mean guy, but you catch him on a bad day, now he'll tell you what time it is. And I think Doug Peterson has shown that he can win in this league and get some structure. So I like both of those guys. I like Bill O'Brien better than most people. Now, I'm going back and forth with my friends on Twitter about him and some stories that you heard. It's funny you don't hear those stories when people are winning. Just like in 2017, and this is the example I was trying to use. In 2017, I heard stories about the Jaguars, but nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody cared because the team was winning. You only heard them when they lost. So it's not as if the trouble starts. Excuse me, I don't want to cough now. It's not as if the trouble starts when these it's not as if the trouble starts when the losing starts. The trouble is just illuminated when the losing starts. So most people don't want to even hear about it because they're winning and they feel like whatever the coach is doing is working. So if it's working, then everybody should just get on board and ride with it. It's not until you start losing when people go, "Oh, he's a bad guy. He wrecked the team." No, he is who he always was. They were just winning despite it. They were just winning regardless of it. And I think that's what it is with Bill O'Brien. If I told you that you would have a coach who would take a young quarterback and put him in a system that would help him come from college to the pros and adjust really, really quickly, and in 6 years he'd go to the playoffs four times, compared to what you've had here in this franchise's history, you take that in a heartbeat. But I think because of Urban Meyer and I think because of the baggage, that nobody wants that. And you don't have to take it when you look at the other two guys who I just mentioned. But if they're gonna, let me just put it like this: if they're gonna keep Trent Baalke, and nobody wants them to do it, but if they do, you know who I would want them to get? Bill O'Brien. You know why? Because I think it takes about a year. I think they play better. I think Trevor plays better. I think the team plays better. But you might want to have to send somebody over there to stop Bill O'Brien from choking Trent Baalke. And now you get Baalke out of here. And then you get another GM. You still don't let Bill O'Brien make personnel moves. Lord, no, you don't want to do that. You just want him to coach his football team, and you hope that maybe he learned his lesson from fussing and arguing at people in the past. Now, people go, man, D-Hop's a nice guy. J.J. Watt's a nice guy. How do you yell at those dudes? Yeah, he's the same dude that yelled at Tom Brady when he was his offensive coordinator. So people yell at people all the time. There's a coach in the AFC South that one of my buddies told me he was on his way out because he was just a world-class you-know-what. And all of a sudden, they started winning, and now that dude is thriving, and that's Mike Vrabel. He said Mike Vrabel was terrible. Worst language, dressing people down, dressing coaches down, dressing players down. Yeah, and they went to the AFC Championship game that year, and they ain't looked back, and now nobody's talking about Mike Vrabel being gone anywhere. You think it's easy to deal with Mike Tomlin? Ask the Pittsburgh media. It ain't that easy. It's not easy to deal with Belichick. Flores, the dude that just got fired in Miami, same thing. Dude won 9 games like 2 years in a row, and he got canned. Beat the Patriots twice. Got canned. You know why? People don't get along with him. So maybe it's just like, I think a positive work environment is important. But I also think, we're a little bit hypocritical. We're a little bit hypocritical because folks just want to win, right? So when I start siding with people that just want to win, look, okay, I'll give up a little bit of that relationship stuff. I just want to win too. We have to be very careful with when we decide to side with players, because it's like all of these coaches that nobody wants because they heard that they didn't get along with players from other teams. Well, there was coaches here that didn't get along with players, and nobody ever sided with the players. They always sided with the coaches and with management. But when it comes to other, it's like parents who will tell you what to do with your kids, but their kids are terrorizing the neighborhood and they won't put them on punishment. That's what it's like. We've had the same situations here, a little bit different because people's personalities were different. We chose to side with whoever we chose to side with. There's other people's problems. We side with the player. It's our problem. We side with management. So it could get a little bit confusing. But hey, the reason why we're all confused is because we're Jaguar fans, and right now Shad Khan is the author of confusion. Right? That's what he is when it comes to football. Anyway, I've said I don't think he's a bad guy, but right now this is just what it is. We're all going to be on different sides of everything. With all I want to do, I want to see a smile put on the Jaguars' face. Fans would chop off their left berry in order to get 8 wins. I don't think you need to be that way, but it's not for me to tell you that you shouldn't want mediocrity when what you've had is a whole bunch of awfulness for the last, most of the last 12 years, with the exception of 1 year. All right, segment 3, look at some draft possibilities, some guys that are in the draft that we like. You probably know who they are already, but we're going to go through it, and I'll get in a little bit of in depth about it. Even though we don't have a GM, I'll still be able to do that because I've been taking a peek at that draft. We'll do it in just a second here in the third and final segment on Locked On Jaguars. Hey, Jag fans, this is Tony Wiggins, of course, with an incredible app everyone needs to buy and to get in order to save on gas. It's called Get Upside, and my listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code Touchdown, and you'll get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app and the promo code Touchdown to get up to 50% or 50 cents, not 50%, 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Now, some people say, Wig, how much, how are people saving all of that money? How are people saving so much money on this app? Well, some people have trucks, box trucks. Some people drive and travel for a living. Some folks drive for the driving services, and they use a lot of gas. So what you need to do to try to get that too is go to the Play Store or the App Store and use the Get Upside app, and the promo code is Touchdown. That's Get Upside app, and use the promo code Touchdown to start saving up to 50 cents per gallon on every fill up. All right, man, and BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year, new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code Locked On to get started. Football, playoffs, basketball, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your sporting events and your sports favorites. BetOnline is where the game starts. And the game may start there, but your podcasting starts here because we're your first listen here on Locked On Jaguars every single day. And we thank you for making us your first listen. The draft. Until we get a GM and until we go through free agency, what about the draft? Well, I'm supposed to head to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, and I don't think the player that the Jaguars have a chance to take at number 1 overall is going to be in Mobile. I don't believe that. I wouldn't tell you that. But there will be some key prospects in Mobile, and who the Jaguars could get later, whether it's later in the first round or early in the second round, and even into the third round, those players will be there. And that's going to help evaluating those guys, which is why they need to get a scouting team in and understand their direction and stop wasting time. But understanding who those guys are might make you determine who you can get up front or whether you need to move back a little bit. And it'll give you an idea of what will be available for you if you're the Jaguars. Right now, I believe the guys at the top of the board are Aiden Hutchinson, depending who you talk to, Kayvon Thibodeau, both edge rushers, Evan Neal, the offensive tackle from Alabama, Derek Stingley, and the Booth kid out of Clemson, both cornerbacks. Now, I don't think they're going to take a corner. I don't. But I do think Derek Stingley is super elite. And if anybody's worried about him being hurt, I heard he ain't really banged up. He was banged up enough that he was like he opted out, and then the team they weren't doing anything. So he's like, nope, I'm just keep working or whatever. But he is a real deal. I ain't telling you he's Jalen Ramsey or nothing like that. But I do think he kind of reminds me a little bit of Stephon Gilmore, and he's different. Would you be satisfied with a guy like that as the number one pick with Tyson Campbell on the other side, and maybe try and see if you can make Shaq Griffin play in the slot or play Tyson Campbell in the slot and use his ability and his size to be able to come off the corner and put Stingley outside? Sure. We've talked about the two edge rushers, Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau. The difference is a little bit of the twitchiness for me and the ability and the ceiling that Thibodeau has. I don't think you can go wrong with Hutchinson. I don't think Hutchinson is like as good as some guys that he's being compared to. I saw two people make the comp to Chris Long, and I think that's a very good comp, and that's a very good player. But for him to be Chris Long, I think that's his ceiling. Okay, he's not Nick or Joey Bosa, and I know I'm naming all white guys, and that's cliche, but when you look at his skill set and the way he plays, he absolutely plays sort of just like those guys, but not as explosive of an athlete as the Bosas. And I don't necessarily think he's as quick as a Chris Long. Chris Long played a lot of standing up, and I think Hutchinson gets everything done with hard work. You got to be real careful that you don't end up with Cleveland Farrell, because Farrell works hard motor, does a lot of the same things that they talk about Hutchinson, but he's just, that ceiling can only take you so far when it's all just hard work. People say hard work beats talent. Hard work doesn't beat hard work and talent at all, ever, and it won't ever be that. So the question is which Kayvon Thibodeau are you getting? Are you getting the one his first and second year, or are you getting the one from last year who was playing through a little bit of an injury and probably taking it easy trying to get to the NFL? For me, I take the guy that's been good since he was a toddler, since he first lined up to play little peewee or junior peewee football. The guy that's been the best, that's the guy I want. So that's why I'm a little bit bigger on Thibodeau. Other positions, now that Jameson Williams got hurt, I think you can take him off of the top 10 list. Even though he's probably going to end up getting surgery, and the way things go now, he's probably going to say, I'll be ready for training camp, So we'll see how that goes, but I wouldn't do it I wouldn't have done it if he was healthy, because I don't think he's as good I don't think he's Jamar Chase. I do think he's a very good receiver though, but I don't think he's a Jamar Chase type, so I wouldn't have done it. In terms of the other guys that could be available, I think the Booth kid from Clemson, the cornerback, is absolutely somebody that you'd have to take a look at too if you're looking at a great athlete who can play corner, and he plays with a little bit of swag and attitude. Kenyon Green is my favorite interior lineman, which I don't think the Jags are going to take an interior lineman. But I do believe if the Jags move down, that an interior lineman could probably be in play. His teammate, Lamarvin, the Neal kid from Texas A&M, he got arrested at the wrong time recently. I ain't saying he did it, but I'm just saying you don't be wanting to draft guys that are getting in the police blotter. So if you're going to take somebody extremely high, it's probably going to be one of the guys that I just mentioned. I know a lot of people like the offensive tackle at NC State as well. Kind of reminds me of the kid, Thomas from Georgia, that the Giants took a little bit. Anytime you do a prospect and you go or better suited, I don't think that's a guy that you take in the top 5 or 6, because the guy you take in the top 5 or 6, there is no or better suited. He is just what he is, and you turn everything towards fitting with him. But I'll be going in depth a little bit more later on with the draft, but it's just so hard to do because right now we don't understand the direction of the team, and we don't even know what they're trying to do and who they're trying to do it with and what direction. Make sure you check into the Locked On Bets podcast with your boy Q and Lee Sterling. Find out all the information that you need before you make your wagers. This weekend there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts going on with that. So you always want to listen to the Locked On Bets podcast before you get to the point where you are going to make a bet, because all that information is pertinent. So make sure you follow that and make it your second listen of the day after Locked On Jaguars is your first. My voice is about to give out, man. I've coughed 3 times and had to hit the button several times. So I'm going to let this go. Y'all tell y'all to take care of each other. And I'll see you guys tomorrow here